Hey guys, Michael from Fire and Brilliance. I've touched on this many times in the past, but I want to touch on it again because it is an important topic, especially in the jewelry business. And what I'm talking about is the Lightbox division of De Beers. I mentioned this back in a video of 2017 when we were still doing our I believe, podcast at the time. And I had mentioned that Lightbox was coming out in De Beers. And if you guys don't know what it is, Lightbox is or was a lab-grown division of De Beers. And De Beers is, if you're in the jewelry business or if you've been following jewelry for a long time, they're a very well-known brand in the jewelry world, especially in the natural diamond world or diamonds in general. De Beers has been around for a very long time. They created slogans like "Diamonds are forever," and they've created the whole engagement proposal era of men proposing to women, and the whole aspect of diamonds should be used in all engagement rings, and that's the reason why they're extremely popular. Now, in this episode, what I want to break down is now Lightbox has been discontinued. Why, as to why they did that, and the works. Okay, so let's get into this. So De Beers Lightbox closure, or basically closing that aspect of the business. I want to talk about the official reasons why and different alternative perspectives on the reasons why they did take away the Lightbox division or the lab-grown division of De Beers. Now, the official reasons for closure, let's talk about that. Number one, the plummeting lab-grown diamond prices. 90% of wholesale price decline since 2018, driven by low-cost production and U.S. market sales. Okay, so Lightbox price dropped from about $800 a carat to about $500 a carat, reflecting a shift to more of a budget-friendly model, unsuitable for high-value jewelry. Now, you may listen to that and be offended by it if you are a lab-grown diamond lover. But at the same time, what I'm trying to portray to you is how they are considering it. De Beers in general. This is not an opinion. This is something that they have been trying to differentiate between one alternative versus the other. One alternative is that they will be buying or they will be selling a lab-grown version versus a natural version of the same thing. Because as you've been following the channel for a very long time, you may already know a diamond is a diamond regardless if it's a lab-grown or a natural. It's exactly the same or almost exactly the same. It's almost made of 100% carbon. The only difference here is that one is created by man and the other is created by Earth. So that's the only difference. It looks, in terms of optics, it looks exactly the same. It feels the same. It is the same. It's made of the same chemical compound. Everything about it is exactly the same. The only difference here is, again, one is man-made versus the other one is Earth-made, right? So what they're saying is that the reason why they're officially closing is because the prices of lab-grown diamonds have dropped so much. Now, that is also very true because it comes to a situation where it's being mass produced. But is that a good or bad thing? So let's go ahead and dive deeper into this. They want to also focus more on natural diamonds. So what they're saying is that part of the origin strategy is to streamline operations and reinvest in natural diamond marketing. They want to emphasize on natural diamonds as a distinct high-value category compared to mass-produced lab-grown diamonds. The number 3, industrial applications. Element 6, to focus on synthetic diamonds for tech applications, for example, semiconductors, quantum computing, cutting tools, etc. Right? So, if you don't know, diamonds are used more than just for jewelry. Diamonds is a very hard gemstone that is used for other items, as I had mentioned earlier, such as applications for semiconductors, quantum computing, and cutting tools, right? So what they're saying is that they could use their lab-grown diamonds for more industrial applications. Now, finally, number 4, corporate restructuring. What they're saying is that they want to align with Anglo-Americans' divestiture of De Beers, aiming for a leaner, standalone company. Now, that's just a simple way to explain that is Anglo-American is the parent company. They're basically the company that owns De Beers. And what they're, in the last couple of years, what they've realized is that they've been losing a lot of money in De Beers, and both the lab-grown um, diamonds industry as well as the natural. So now they're trying to get away from it. They're trying to diversify, or they're trying to spin it off, and they're trying to sell that division. They're trying to sell off De Beers for about about 6 months to about a year now. And Lightbox specifically within the De Beers organization, they lost about $101.3 million in 2023. And the market challenges were 44% in Q1 of 2025 revenue drop. So they definitely needed to start cutting some costs. So basically, if you run a business and you're losing so much money, there's only so much money to go around before you have to start cutting costs, laying people off, and realizing that this is not a business that is working at the moment, right? So these are the four main reasons as to why they closed the Lightbox organization within the De Beers company. Okay. Now, here are some key company statements. The CEO, Al Cook, the planned closure of Lightbox reflects our commitment to natural diamonds. We are also excited to add growing commercial potential for synthetic diamonds in the technology and industrial space. Lightbox has helped to highlight the fundamental differences in value between these two categories. The closure will enable De Beers Group to reallocate investments to initiatives focused on reinvigorating desire for natural diamonds through category marketing. And last quote was, lab-grown diamonds prices in the jewelry sector has fallen at wholesale, tracking closer to a cost-plus model, end quote, right? So these are the different things that people within the De Beers organization was thinking, and therefore they're going to not like it. So that's the reason why they wanted to discontinue De Beers. Now, if you follow and watch me throughout the entire video, I'm going to go ahead and give you my perspective as to why I think they started it and why I think they ended it. Obviously everything is my opinion. Many of these facts here, you can find it online. These things are not made up, but I'm going to go ahead and give you my opinion anyway. There are many reasons as to why I believe they started it and ended it. And it doesn't necessarily mean, sometimes many people will, or many companies and many executives will say things in front of the camera, but what they're doing behind closed doors may be something different. And I think based on my perspective and what I know in the jewelry industry, I'm going to go ahead and give you my perspective as well. Okay? Well, number one, what they're saying is that the reason why they're leaving, different perspectives in terms of why they're leaving the lab-grown space, is because it's a market disruption strategy. Lightbox may have been designed to crash lab-grown diamond prices, protecting natural diamond value. So if you wear a tinfoil hat and you think there's a conspiracy theory, that might be a theory that many people are thinking. And I'll go ahead and give you my perspective at the end. Now, there's also brand risk, right? So a Lightbox risked diluting De Beers' luxury image and confuse consumers about diamond value. So that makes a lot of sense. Geopolitical factors, closure may enhance De Beers' valuation of Anglo-Americans diverse or moving away from De Beers, right? Tech opportunity to pivot to industrial diamonds reflects a bet on high growth tech applications, which is something I mentioned to you earlier. And then finally, strategic missteps. Lightbox lacked clear goals between disruption and consumer brand. Overinvestment in the Oregon facility. In case you don't know, Lightbox, their facility to create lab-grown diamonds was or is in Oregon, and they overinvested in 2023, and losses suggested the operational inefficiencies, which I had mentioned to you earlier, they lost over $100 million there. Okay? Now, here are my thoughts, and here are my opinions, and here's what I want to talk about. So if you followed through the entire video, this is actually very important that you actually listen to my opinion here, because if you are a retailer or a business, it's important that you listen because then you'll also be more informed. And if you're just a consumer, a person that buys jewelry, loves jewelry, regardless of lab-grown, natural, or you're in the market for engagement ring, or what, so whatever the situation is, here are my thoughts. I believe that initially De Beers went into the business because they saw an emerging market. They did not believe how big the lab-grown space was going to be. Okay. Being in the jewelry business for many, many years, I can tell you this. Business owners are, especially big companies, what they probably saw with De Beers owning the majority of the natural diamond space for many, many, many years, they probably saw an emerging market and they thought it's just going to be the baby of the natural diamonds. It's going to be the baby sister, just that small business that they can continue to grow as an additional income revenue that they can build on top of what they already have. So they started the Lightbox. But what they did not realize is that they also launched something that the consumers really wanted, which is an alternative, right? So when I started this YouTube channel many years ago, I used to talk about moissanite a lot, and I still do. Moissanite is still a very beautiful stone, but before lab diamonds became more affordable, moissanite was the stone that many people purchase. So what I believe that De Beers saw is that lab-grown diamonds was going to be that new moissanite, and they wanted to get into the space. So therefore, they invested a lot of money in the Oregon facility to build their own space so they could get ahead of the game, and therefore they'll make additional money for their company. Now, that said, what they did not realize was how big the lab-grown space was going to grow. And what happened was that it ate into their main business, which is natural diamonds. Now, because they grew so much, there's also alternatives to the alternative, which means there are other facilities, there are other companies that got into the lab-grown space, and they made it more efficient. They were able to create more lab-grown diamonds, and they were able to compete directly with Lightbox. And so De Beers now is looking at it and saying, we made the wrong decision. We got into this business thinking that it was just going to help our business. It's going to be a small business, but we did not realize how big it was going to become. It not only ate into our main business, but we can't even compete in this business now because so many other companies from overseas are competing, and it's going to cost so much less that they're getting out of it. And that's the reason why they lost, so much money over the years. And as a matter of fact, Anglo American, which is the main parent company that wants to sell De Beers, they're trying to spin it off. First of all, they're trying to spin it off as its own company because now they're currently trying to find a bidder to buy it, but no one's actually, they really haven't found a real bidder just yet. I'm pretty confident someone for the right price will jump in and purchase De Beers. It's a pretty big name, right? It's been around for a very long time, but for the right price. So they've lost quite a bit. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and give you some facts here. And I went over this in my previous videos, but let me go and tell you again. De Beers' parent company, Anglo American, is divesting or spinning off De Beers as part of a broader portfolio simplification strategy with plans to complete this by end of 2025. Closing Lightbox is part of De Beers' efforts to optimize its business, reduce costs, and the position itself as a standalone profitable company. And if you think about it, why are they doing that? Here it is. The decision also follows a significant financial challenges, including a 44% year-on-year revenue drop in Q1 of 2025. Do you know how much 44% is? Just imagine this, okay? So let's just say, for example, if you're making $100,000 a year, right, as a person, and then next year you get laid off or you are still with the same company, but they said, you know what, we're not doing so well. Where now you can only get paid $66,000 a year. That's a $56,000 a year. That's a 44% drop. So that's the same thing as a company, but we're talking about billions of dollars. We're not talking about a person's wages here. And at $1.6 billion write down in 2024, another $2.9 billion valuation cut in February of 2025, and Lightbox itself again has lost over $100 million in 2023. I mean, the company is just not doing well, guys. Let's just not pretend that it is what it is. I mean, people are adopting to the new world. And I've mentioned this many, many times in the past for the last decade and more, that lab-grown diamonds, lab-grown moissanite, lab-grown jewelry, lab-grown gems and jewelry is the future. So it's either adapt or you're going to have to deal with these types of situations regardless of how big you are. I mean, we're talking about De Beers. They're the Goliath of the jewelry business for decades, decades, and decades, and they're hurting right now. And that's the reason why they had to close the Lightbox. And that's the reason why I think, those are my thoughts. And here's the other thing, too. For me being in the business for so long, I have not heard from one or two or three companies that the strategy of De Beers was to open Lightbox and reduce, hopefully devalue the price of lab diamonds so that they can differentiate between the price of natural diamonds versus lab-grown diamonds so that they can completely kill that business. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. This is, again, it's just hearsay. This is something that I've heard. And at the same time, this is just an opinion. So it's one of those things that we don't know what their true intention was. But whatever their intention was, unfortunately, that strategy did not work out for them. They created this business either to devalue the price of lab-grown diamonds or to get into the business thinking that's just going to be a smaller sister company of the bigger company so that they can make some extra income. But what happened was that it just completely exploded. It did well. It completely blew up. And now the consumers all over the world, regardless if it's here in America or in Asia or in Europe, people are buying lab-grown diamonds everywhere. So much so that it is devaluing the price of natural diamonds. So here you go. Here are my last thoughts. Here's what I always preach. Buy what you love. Don't buy it because it's expensive, or don't buy it because it's inexpensive. Don't buy it because it's trendy. Buy it because it's something that you believe you will wear for a lifetime. And that's the most important thing. Right? Because as you have seen, and if you've been following my channel for a long time, regardless if it's a lab-grown diamond, moissanite, colored stones, sapphires, rubies, emeralds, or even if it's a natural diamond of all types, prices will fluctuate, and in this case, natural diamond prices do drop as well. For anyone that tells you that natural diamond prices will hold its value in the next 10, 20 years, they may be full of it because no one knows what the future is. And for all the people that said natural diamonds will hold its value, said if you buy natural diamonds, I mean, you could go ahead and compare today. Can you go back into the store today and sell your natural diamond that you bought last year for the same price you bought it for? It's extremely difficult. So anyone saying that natural diamond prices doesn't drop, I mean, they're just they're being very biased. So those are my opinions and thoughts. Let me know what your comments below. What are your thoughts on this regarding Lightbox? Why De Beers closed Lightbox? In terms of the pricing with natural diamonds and lab-grown diamonds, and at the same time, what are your thoughts about the future of the jewelry business in both? I'll see you next time.